Welcome back, agents. In today's briefing, we'll be covering SCP-5007, the base Strait. Description: SCP-5007 is the collective designation of malicious, partially humanoid entities that maintain a territory across the Bass Strait, the area of ocean that divides Tasmania and the Australian mainland, and are responsible for a string of disappearances within this range. The morphology of SCP-5007 often varies. Universally, SCP-5007 are composed of groups of between 2 and 9 human bodies fused amidst large clusters of black tentacles. These tentacles appear to have lengths varying between approximately 2 and 70 meters and appear fused to the skin where they touch directly. Of note are the stomachs of SCP-5007, which are grossly distorted and swollen to sizes approaching 15 to 20 meters in diameter. SCP-5007 instances are capable of passive flight, attaining buoyancy through enormous quantities of gases produced within their stomachs. Across the surface of these organs, most specimens develop clusters of simple eyes and bioluminescent organs. Many of their humanoid components appear to have been removed and reattached at seemingly random points. Encounters with SCP-5007 have been known since at least 1858, with the first successful visual recordings accomplished in late 1982 when an instance of SCP-5007 was recorded abducting 5 children from a Tasmanian beach. Human segments of SCP-5007 appear to remain independent of one another, and their behavior suggests a great deal of discomfort. Vocalizations are incoherent and rarely understandable, typically comprised of gasps, moans, and whimpers, though entities have been reported to implore other individuals to approach them when encountered. Ineffectual attempts at self-harm or destruction of stomach organs have been reported as well. Behavior: SCP-5007 is known to abduct human beings. Each recorded encounter has followed a similar pattern. Victims are almost universally alone or otherwise unsupervised. Of note is that victims never require visual aids, such as glasses. SCP-5007 may appear in any weather condition, time of day or time of year. They appear able to navigate all weather with minimal difficulty, regardless of clear or hostile skies. All encounters have occurred within Bass Strait, with a major preference for smaller coastal towns or small boats. SCP-5007 will move towards the shore, stalking the intended victim for a short time before lowering numerous tentacles and appendages to physically grab the individual. A single instance may abduct multiple people at once, with one instance successfully abducting 8 men from the decks of a commercial fishing boat within 15 seconds of one another. Once the victims are securely captured, SCP-5007 instances will return to the open water at great speed, often more than 320 knots per hour. Tracking instances of SCP-5007 has shown that they inhabit a remote reef within the Bass Strait, resting and depositing abductees there. Acquisition log. Initial investigations that led to the discovery of SCP-5007 were disparate investigations into the region, and early theories did not connect so many unusual abductions across such a wide area and such a wide period. Theories included an anomalous group of persons, one or more hostile aerial entities inhabiting the stratosphere, phenomena associated with unidentified flying objects, subterranean anomalies, time quirks, and unusual weather patterns. However, after the disappearance of Agent Taberner's 3 young children and wife from a beach in broad daylight in 1980, further research into the region was prioritized. It was soon discovered that reports of UFOs and lights in the sky had coincided with many disappearances in the immediate region, and patterns emerged as this was kept at the forefront of further research. The Foundation immediately began with a focus on simply locating the 4 lost Taberner family members. This search rapidly opened up into a large-scale investigation into unexplained disappearances following similar patterns along the Victorian coast and later the Tasmanian coast and local islands. Initial assumptions that they had been taken by a group of interest or an unknown, local terrestrial element were soon found to be incorrect. Within 3 weeks, It was determined that these patterns were common across the entirety of the Bass Strait's coastal regions. Foundation teams successfully interviewed over 120 witnesses, next of kin, and police groups to establish patterns. They soon discovered that in a vast majority of cases, there were no witnesses. The abductions were both preceded and followed by reports of lights in the sky and more concrete sightings of unidentified flying objects described as looking like balloons. On 23/5/1982, emergency services call centers received a large number of UFO sightings off the coast of Norman Bay, Victoria. Foundation plants within the call centers and emergency organizations alerted local sites, and task force operatives were dispatched to investigate. Upon arrival confirming the appearance and existence of what are now documented as SCP-5007, after a brief evacuation and encounter with the entity, it was successfully captured and transported to Site 40 for containment. The discovery of SCP-5007-A prompted the subsequent construction of Site 40R and designation of the entity as SCP-5007-S1. During the initial investigation into SCP-5007, prior to the containment of SCP-5007-S1, the Foundation conducted numerous interviews with relatives of suspected victims of SCP-5007 in an effort to determine a pattern for the disappearances. Among the interviewed was Alan Stewart, who was present during the disappearance of former Australian Prime Minister Harold Holt. Due to the high-profile nature of this disappearance, Dr. A posed as a reporter writing an article about the disappearance.
Thank you for seeing me, Mr. Stewart. I know you must be tired of people asking about what happened that day. As I said, when we contacted you, we wanted to hear what happened from someone who was actually there, none of the hearsay that's become so common these days.
No worries. So, where should I start?
I think when you entered the water would be best.
All right. Well, we were still disappointed about not getting to see the yacht pass into the bay, so we decided to go for a swim. The girls and Marty 3 took one look at the water and said they weren't going in. I mean, sure, it was rough, but at the time I didn't think it was all that bad.
You and Mr. Holt were experienced swimmers then?
Yeah. We'd both been there loads of times, but once we were about waist deep, I could feel an undertow. I said to Harold, "Do you think we should stay in the shallows?" And he just grinned at me and swam out further. I went out a little further, but I wasn't the swimmer he was, so I didn't go as far. I could see he was starting to look less sure of himself too. I called out to him, said that maybe he should come back in, and he nodded. Then he looked over his shoulder and he said something about some balloons. I never understood what that was about.
Balloons? What did he say specifically?
It was the strangest thing. He looked at me and asked if I could see the balloons around the cliff. I said no, and he said he was going to look. I asked him why he cares about some balloons, said he should come into shore. He just shook his head and said that they weren't normal balloons, that there was someone inside of them. Then he swam away.
Mr. Stewart is silent for several moments, shaking his head.
What happened next, Mr. Stewart?
Everyone knows what happened next. The rip swept him away. It took him out so fast, like a leaf being pulled out in the tide. You could see him swimming sideways, trying to get out like you're supposed to. It doesn't matter.
Mr. Stewart.
It's nothing. I was just rattled from seeing a friend, taken by the current is all. You think you see things in those situations sometimes.
What did you think you saw?
You'll think I'm a loon.
I can assure you I won't, Mr. Stewart. What you feel like you saw doesn't have to be in the article if you don't want.
Mr. Stewart nods and pauses for several moments.
I thought I saw Harold start screaming and swimming the other way, just as he was almost just a dot on the horizon, you know? I think he saw something awful out there in the water, maybe something to do with his balloons. And then...
Mr. Stewart pauses and rubs his face.
I saw him pulled up into the air. Something in the clouds reached down and took him. I saw it. Marty says it was just a trick of the light, but I don't think it was. I really don't.
I'm sorry, Mr. Stewart. I didn't want to make you relive something like that. We'll call it a day here, all right?
You believe me, don't you?
We all see things sometimes, Mr. Stewart. Thank you for your time.
Closing statement. It seems that Mr. Stewart is our only eyewitness to an abduction event thus far. Unfortunately, given the 18 years between the sighting and this interview, amnestics are not an option here, and Mr. Stewart will need to be discredited should he attempt to spread his account of events. Following extensive interviews with witnesses, compiling a database of likely victims and the containment of SCP-5007-S1, it was determined that there must be at least 16 instances of SCP-5007 as yet unaccounted for. As a result of this information, the search for SCP-5007's origin point was made a top priority. Foundation personnel were to closely monitor the coastlines and waters of Bass Strait and were keeping various marine survey teams equipped with Class B aquatic research vessels on standby to track any discovered instances of SCP-5007 to its point of origin. At 3:21 a.m., the 1985 Foundation survey teams operating out of Site 40 reported a sighting of a large SCP-5007 specimen headed towards the coastal town of Kilkunda, Victoria, from Bass Strait. Marine Survey Team 40 Alpha was sent to track the specimen in an effort to determine its point of origin. The following is a video log taken from Sergeant Redacted Price's body camera of the resulting events.
There's the entity up ahead. Team, stay sharp and don't open the protective covers. These things are supposed to have a long reach, and I don't want any of you lot being taken.
A large instance of SCP-5007 can be seen approximately 75 meters away, floating above a private fishing vessel. The instance is estimated to be 23 meters in diameter, composed of 7 individuals. 5 of these individuals remain unidentified, with the other 2 being confirmed as Mark and Hope, who disappeared on their honeymoon in 1963.
Yes, sir.
Damn, it really does look like a UFO. Look at the green lights.
Oh, God. I think I'm gonna be sick.
What is it?
That man and woman up there. It's like they're clay, and they've been crushed together. There's a tentacle growing into her mouth.
Enough. Keep it together, Mathers. Those are not people. They are just a part of the specimen.
Yes, sir, sorry.
Sir, that's a boat it's flying towards. I think it's going to attack.
Agreed. Zmegak, get us over there.
Yes, sir.
40 Alpha proceeds to approach the fishing vessel, identified as the License to Chill, registered to one Mr. Gregory Bulwell. The vessel is occupied by 6 individuals, dubbed Abductees 1I-6. Abductee 1 is on the deck while the remaining crew can be seen within the cabin eating breakfast. The SCP-5007 instance is now directly ahead of the fishing boat and is spotted by Abductee 1.
What the fuck is that?
What's what? Come on, Jane. Finish your smoke and come get some brekkie. Alice made eggs.
They're really good.
The SCP-5007 instance partially lowers itself toward the boat. Several of its tentacles are trailing in the water and it appears to be observing the crew of the boat. It slowly turns, so that the majority of its humanoid parts are facing Abductee 1.
I see you. You will help me see.
Fuck.
Look at the balloons, Mummy!
Abductee 1 sprints towards the door to the cabin of the boat, but is seized by a tentacle and pulled into the air.
Jane?
Oh, God. Get us the hell out of here!
Abductee 5 attempts to exit the cabin, but is restrained by Abductee 2 and Abductee 4.
No, you can't.
Let me go. She's my wife.
The SCP-5007 instance proceeds to run its tentacles along the windows of the cabin until the door is located. At this point, a tentacle ending in a mass of human hands opens the door and enters the cabin, grabbing Abductee 2 and violently pulling them outside into the air. Abductees 3 to 6 panic and attempt to force the tentacle out of the cabin with objects at hand.
Jesus, Sarge. Are you sure we can't help them?
Positive. Disrupting the event could jeopardize the mission.
The SCP-5007 specimen successfully captures Abductees 3-6 and proceeds towards 40 Alpha.
Don't worry, the entryway is locked and rated to remain sealed under 5 tons of force. It can't get in.
I bloody well hope so.
Is 5 tons enough?
Jesus, they're trying to strangle themselves and are throwing up orange shit.
The crew of the fishing boat?
No, the PO. The humanoid components of the SCP.
Don't worry about it. Just wait this out and we'll follow it to wherever the hell it lives.
Roger.
The SCP-5007 instance runs its tentacles over 40 Alpha's ship, repeatedly trying to force open the entrance hatch, but is unable to gain entry. It lowers down and closely examines the ship and the crew within at length.
Jesus, its eyes. They're like beach balls.
I've never seen beach balls like those.
Enough. Quiet.
The specimen shudders and rises back into the air before heading in a southwestern direction.
Zimagak, get after it. Don't lose it.
Sir.
Bentley, tag it.
CPL. Bentley proceeds to fire one Isurus-class harpoon tracker towards the specimen, successfully implanting it on one of its tentacles.
Good shot, son.
Cheers.
The SCP-5007 specimen continues on a southwesterly course with 40 Alpha following. This takes 4 hours, 19 minutes, with 40 Alpha falling significantly behind the specimen, but catching back up as it slowed down once past sight of land.
There. Look, it's heading to that reef.
Fuck me, look at them all.
Footage shows a large grey reef ahead, featuring several shipwrecks upon it. There are 13 more SCP-5007 instances floating over the area, some appearing to hold on to the reef with their tentacles.
Looks like it's going to land, sir.
Definitely.
The specimen slows to a stop above the reef as Alpha 40 pulls alongside it. The SCP-5007 instance lowers abductees 1 to 6 towards the reef before dropping them slightly above the ground.
Is everyone okay?
No, I'm not fucking okay.
What are those things?
Look, a boat.
Abductee 6 runs towards Alpha 40 but is grabbed and attacked by a large SCP-4159 instance from within a crevice in the reef. Abductee 2 rushes to help, but is deterred by multiple other specimens emerging from the water.
Oh God, look at them all.
I've never seen so many.
SCP-4159 instances proceed to swarm Abductee 6. Remaining abductees flee a ways before waving their arms and calling to Alpha 40 for help, displaying significant signs of distress.
We've tracked them now. Can't we at least help them now?
I'm not going over there with that many of those things out there.
Negative. We need to know what they do to people here.
Jesus.
Abductees 1 to 5 continue to attempt to enlist Alpha 40's aid, before eventually giving in and exploring the reef. Upon approaching the center of the reef, they discover a large pool. Voicing apprehension about further attacks from SCP-4159, the group begins to retreat from its edge, before multiple SCP-5007 and SCP-4159 instances converge upon them.
They're coming back!
Maybe they can't get us in the water.
Jump.
Abductees 1, 2, 3, and 5 dive into the pool. Abductee 4 appears to hesitate before being swarmed by multiple SCP-4159 specimens. The remaining abductees display severe distress and tread water for some time.
Now what?
I don't know. We'll think of something.
Abductee 2 is abruptly pulled below the water.
What do you think, Alice?
Alice,
Where is she? Where is Mummy? I'm scared Auntie Jane.
Abductee 3 is pulled below the surface.
Sarah.
What the fuck? Was that a tentacle? Wait, no.
Abductee 5 is pulled below the surface. Abductee 1 panics and attempts to swim to the edge of the pool, but is menaced by SCP-5007 and SCP-4159. She screams and is abruptly pulled below the surface. Alpha 40 is silent for 72 seconds.
Let's just go home.
Following a review of the footage presented from the body cams, the agent's reports and the tracking data, Foundation teams determined that this reef is the home and origin of SCP-5007 and has been dubbed SCP-5007-A. As such, Site 40R has been constructed 200 data east of SCP-5007-A for the purpose of monitoring and research. SCP-5007-A is a large intertidal reef measuring approximately 1.3 kilometers located in central Bass Strait. It is largely composed of a previously unknown variety of dark porous rock visually similar to granite, which often seeps iron oxide from an unknown source. This rock possesses the anomalous property of an extraordinarily fast rate of growth, where non-anomalous rock generally takes millions of years to achieve any significant growth, SCP-5007. A can achieve significant growth in as little as 40 minutes. While the violent waters surrounding it keep this growth rate from expanding SCP-5007-A, it does not impede the growth of rock over foreign objects resting upon it. As a result of this, there are numerous wrecked ships and aircraft on SCP-5007-A that have been completely grown over with rock. SCP-5007-A has proven to be a haven for various anomalous forms of marine life. Much of its surface is host to a form of red algae that are specialized to feed upon the freshly grown rock of SCP-5007-A. Numerous marine worms capable of temporary levitation and marine spiders with leg spans of 1 to 3 meters living below the waterline in silk retreats they construct similarly to non-anomalous marine spiders. Additionally, there are various small fish inhabiting the rock pools and surrounding waters of SCP-5007-A that have not been discovered elsewhere. SCP-4159 migrate to SCP-5007-A between November and March, residing within its rock pools and the surrounding waters. SCP-5007-A has been confirmed as the origin point for SCP-5007, which often rest here holding onto outcroppings with their tentacles while inactive. There is a large pit in the center of SCP-5007-A measuring 30 feet in diameter and extending to an as yet unknown depth below the surface of the water. This pit has been dubbed SCP-5007-B, and unmanned exploration via drones has shown it to have a depth of at least 4,000 midhana. Water samples collected from SCP-5007-B contain large quantities of human DNA, Carnobacterium pleistocenium, and an unknown biological compound possessing significant life-preservative qualities. Testing has shown that organisms submerged in this solution are able to survive grievous injuries for an indeterminate amount of time, even when fully submerged and unable to breathe. Exploration of one of the shipwrecks located on SCP-5007-A revealed a journal within a chest. Most of it was illegible due to water damage, but one passage has proven to be of interest to the Foundation. The following is a journal of an unknown crew member on the HMS Sappho, dated February 1858. This journal was recovered within the HMS Sappho, which was discovered wrecked and almost entirely overgrown with rock on SCP-5007-A. Most of the journal is illegible, save for a passage on what is assumed to be the last page. February 1858. Still headed east. The boys and me are still cursing Moresby for going after those Yankees, causing us to have to sail the Strait. Everyone knows the stories, and sure enough, the sea is in a foul temper. The waves are many yards high in all directions, and we are forced to sail south so as to not be capsized. Me and Fletcher both seen things beneath the waves, like great black serpents with yellow eyes. I weren't going to tell the crew lest I frighten them, but Fletcher went and spouted out about it. Feels as if they are whipping up these waves, and there is naught we can do of it. Moresby spied land ahead, and the boys say there are giant balloons hanging over the island. We are all afeared, but there is naught we can do but beach ourselves and hope for rescue. Should I be killed in the crash, I want my mates to give this journal to my Mary, might know I spent my last thinking only of her. Note: the interior of the ship had many human skeletons overgrown with rock lying inside. It is estimated that a ship of this size would have had many more crew than those seen inside, and the location of the remaining crew is, as yet, unknown. Frederick Valentich was a pilot engaged in a training flight over Bass Strait on the 21/10/1978, whose disappearance can be attributed to SCP-5007. Unfortunately, transcripts of his transmissions to Melbourne Air Traffic Control during this event were released to the public prior to Foundation involvement. As such, Foundation web scrubbers have made efforts to discredit paranormal theories by posing as members of the online UFO community. While the official explanation for his disappearance is that Valentich became disorientated and saw his own lights reflected in the water, or lights from a nearby island, while flying upside down.
Melbourne, this is Delta Sierra Juliet. Is there any known traffic below 5,000?
Delta Sierra Juliet. No known traffic.
Delta Sierra Juliet, IM, seems to be a large aircraft below 5,000.
Delta Sierra Juliet. What type of aircraft is it?
Delta Sierra Juliet, I cannot affirm. It is for bright, it seems to me, like landing lights.
Delta Sierra Juliet.
Melbourne, this is Delta Sierra Juliet. The aircraft has just passed over me at least 1,000 feet above.
Delta Sierra Juliet, Melbourne. It seems like it's stationary. What I'm doing right now is orbiting, and the thing is just orbiting on top of me. Also, it's got a green light and sort of metallic, like it's all shiny on the outside.
Delta Sierra Juliet, the engine is rough idling. I've got it set at 2324 and the thing is coughing.
Delta Sierra Juliet, Roger. What are your intentions?
My intentions are to go to King Island. Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering on top of me again. It is hovering and it's not an aircraft.
Delta Sierra Juliet?
Delta Sierra Juliet, Melbourne.
Delta Sierra Juliet, Melbourne.
Notes. At this point, the transmission was interrupted by unidentified noise described as being metallic scraping sounds before all contact was lost. It is believed that these sounds were made by an instance of SCP-5007 attacking Valentich's aircraft and attempting to jam the propellers with its biomass. Prior to Foundation involvement, there have been numerous government and civilian searches for Valentich's wreckage, all unsuccessful. It was only during an unmanned exploration of SCP-5007-B that the wreckage of his aircraft was found embedded in the rocky walls, 1,200 meters below sea level. The plane appeared to have been crushed under tremendous pressure. Foundation personnel operating out of Site 40R were able to recover the wreckage for analysis on the 27/10/1993, with no losses. Analysis of the wreckage showed that the craft had suffered catastrophic engine failure due to a collision with a large biological mass, forcing the aircraft to be ditched into the water, causing further damage. Analysis of the interior revealed the presence of human remains matching Valentich's description, mixed with DNA samples not matching any known form of life, along with an aftermarket cockpit recording device. Although partially damaged, a transcript of the recording is available below. The following recording has been edited to begin where Valentich's transmission to Melbourne Air Traffic Control ended. Some portions are too damaged to produce any viable data. Rapid breathing can be heard along with the sound of the plane's engine running poorly. Melbourne Air Traffic Control can be heard attempting to reach Valentich over the radio.
Oh God, don't come any closer. Stay up there. Shit, no.
There is a loud crash and the engine stalls.
Jesus, it hit me. It's crashed right into me and it's jammed the propellers. God, no, I'm going down.
You will see.
Valentich can be heard screaming and panicking for 23 seconds before seeming to regain some composure.
Attempting to glide as long as I can before ditching in the water. Got to hope someone comes looking.
Wind, SCP-5007 and Valentich's exertions can be heard for 2 minutes, 48 seconds until the plane impacts the water. Various electrical shorts and crashing sounds are heard upon impact.
Ow. God. That was worse than I thought it would be. No leaks in here yet. The thing fell off on impact, thank God. The sea is choppy. I've activated a distress call, but the radio is all smashed.
The sea can be heard outside the cabin, and Valentich appears to begin to say something.
I'm sorry, Dad.
The following part of the log was damaged.
Was that?
A loud splash followed by a bang can be heard.
No, stop. Oh God, the tentacle is back. It's back. It's looking at me and it's grabbing the plane. No, don't.
Sound from outside, the plane becomes muffled, suggesting it has been submerged fully.
Please let me go. Let me go. Let me go.
Valentich proceeds to panic and express distress for a further 39 minutes before the plane can be heard to groan, as though being crushed. There is a shattering sound, and water can be heard rushing inside of the cockpit. Notes. Nothing else of note was recorded following this point. Based on the crush damage to the plane, it is hypothesized that an unknown entity connected to SCP-5007-B physically pulled Valentich's aircraft at least 8,000 meters below sea level. This entity is believed to have been responsible for abductees 1 to 6 disappearance within SCP-5007-B. and to be the same described in recovered documentation 5007-1. Following the construction of Site 40R, a log of all SCP-5007 departures and returns has been maintained, with instances returning with abducted victims 83% less often than prior to current containment procedures. However, on the 19/4/2003, Site 40R logged 3 SCP-5007 instances departing SCP-5007-A, and on the 23/4/2008 recorded 36 instances returning, with only 2 not having any fresh abductees. No monitoring post has any records of missing persons, SCP-5007 sightings, or satellite data indicating the presence of these as yet unaccounted for instances. This event was followed by the largest SCP-5007 instance being data expunged by a large tentacle originating from SCP-5007-B. This process took 78 hours and necessitated a 26% increase in on-site psychological counseling. While the presence of a large entity below SCP-5007-B has been suspected for some time, this is the first concrete evidence presented to the Foundation to date. This entity has been designated SCP-5007-C, and the confirmation of its existence will necessitate a manned exploration of SCP-5007-B in order to determine the nature of SCP-5007-C, with Dr. Steenstrup volunteering for the mission. D-5007-98 completes pre-dive preparations and checks on himself and the SCPS Nautilus, and is craned over SCP-5007-B.
All systems are good. I'm ready to submerge.
SCPS Nautilus is lowered into SCP-5007-B and is disconnected from the crane.
Looking good. Headed down. Seeing a lot of strange blacky-yellow vines growing around the walls of the trench.
Visibility is good, and black tendrils with yellow markings can be seen lining the walls of the pit. Several SCP-5007-A3 instances are seen inhabiting a large communal web. The largest extends a limb to touch the SCPS Nautilus before quickly withdrawing. A large SCP-5007 instance comes into view clinging to a rocky outcropping. All of its eyes follow the SCPS Nautilus, and many of the previously seen tendrils are wrapped around the specimen and inside of its orifices, particularly the mouths and noses of the individuals composing the bulk of the specimen.
Jesus, is that a plane it's holding onto? 528 meters down.
Another 16 SCP-5007 instances are seen resting against the walls of SCP-5007-B, between 528 and 1750 meters.
Natural light is all gone. I'm glad those things don't seem interested in me.
A large 6-gill shark swims past the SCPS Nautilus and proceeds to attack an SCP in 5007-A3 instance.
2123 meters down in... Holy crap. Where did he come from?
Another 119 SCP-5007 instances and 487 SCP-4159 instances are seen between 2123 and 5391 meters deep, along with 58 overgrown plane wrecks. These wrecks are often inhabited by SCP-5007-A3 instances. There is no natural light penetrating to this depth.
How am I not at the bottom? They said they didn't think it went deeper than 4,000 meters. What is that? Seeing machines at 5520 meters.
Numerous unmanned submersibles are seen tangled in the black tendrils growing along the walls. Some are nearly fully covered by stone. The SCPS Nautilus passes a badly damaged human arm, which appears to have been crushed. The arm is visibly twitching.
Oh my god. 5,800 meters now, seeing human remains. God, I can't wait to get back up and go home. I wouldn't mind just going back to prison at this point. It feels so fucking wrong down here.
The SCPS Nautilus passes into a brine pool, and visibility drops.
Visibility's even worse down here. 6,000 meters now. Just passed into the brine layer. I'm not seeing any fish or anything.
The SCPS Nautilus enters a large mass of human remains. The remains all appear to have been crushed, drained of blood, and possessing intact eyes. D-98 can be heard hyperventilating as they enter this area. Each individual floating in this area is alive and attempting to move despite the enormous damage to their bodies. All can be seen to visibly observe the SCPs Nautilus as it passes them.
Oh my god, oh no, 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 no. This can't be possible. How are they moving?
At this point, the remains are attempting to grab the SCPs Nautilus and appear to be attempting to communicate with it. Thumping can be heard inside the submersible as they bump against it.
They're saying something. Oh god, they're talking to me. What are they saying?
One set of partial remains floats in front of the SCPs Nautilus, looking directly at the camera. Later analysis confirmed this to be the remains of former Australian Prime Minister Harold Holt. It mouths something to the camera, unable to be deciphered by Foundation lip readers.
Go back. They're saying go back. Oh fuck no. I can't do this. I can't. I've gone down 6,700 meters. I'm not going further.
SCPs Nautilus's rate of descent can be seen to slow, but passes the mass of human remains into clear water again. Please let it be over. I can't see that again. Maybe there's a different way out at the bottom, please. D-98 can be heard performing calming breathing exercises for 19 minutes.
Okay, let's keep going. Currently at 7,208 meters down.
A Foundation submersible comes into view, floating in the open water. It has visibly imploded.
Jesus. I'm glad this one's top of the line. 8963 meters. Encountered a destroyed submersible.
A large black tentacle can be seen rapidly emerging from below. It is approximately 8 meters in diameter and features numerous yellow eyes growing on it. This tentacle proceeds to wrap around the SCPs Nautilus and begins to rapidly drag it down. D-5007-98 can be heard panicking and expressing distress during this process.
Please, God, save me and deliver me and forgive my sins. I don't want to die 5 miles under the sea. I want to see my Chloe again, please, God.
At this point, data corruption begins affecting the footage. No audio can be heard, and there is static present in the footage. 8 more tentacles can be seen rising towards the SCPs Nautilus. 3 of these possess large openings on their ends, which proceed to open as they approach the submersible, revealing large clusters of eyes, mouths, and human heads seemingly grafted to the tentacles. Static and blurred images. D-98 can be heard vomiting, followed by a muffled thump as he presumably loses consciousness. The SCPs Nautilus appears to now be resting on the sea floor, with no rocky walls in sight. Black tendrils cover the seabed and detritus in the water moves irregularly, indicating something moving off-camera. A dark shape begins to approach the Nautilus. The SCPs Nautilus is now resting on a rocky shelf overhanging a drop-off. A mass of thin tentacles are emerging from within this drop-off and are holding Chugikuko, Srostabana, and Twast, Anderson. The tentacles proceed to press the individuals together, causing them fuse together by unknown means. Both individuals show signs of significant distress. The tentacles proceed to further alter both victims before thin green tentacles enter the frame from above and force themselves into the victims' abdomens, which begin to swell. Entire frame is filled by an enormous eye ringed with tentacles, large claws, and human remains. It is estimated to be at least 650 meters in diameter. D-98 can be heard screaming for the entire duration of this portion of footage. The SCPs Nautilus is rapidly ascending, though the cameras are partially obscured by an unknown substance. D-98 can be heard babbling and vomiting.
It saw me. It saw me. It saw everything. It wants to know everything. Why can I see so much? I don't want it to see me anymore. Please make it stop looking at me.
Upon their extrication from the SCPs Nautilus, D-5007-98 immediately attempted to attack Foundation personnel and harm themselves. They showed signs of anomalous physical alteration, namely the growth of numerous eyes over their upper body and arms. On-site security determined that D-5007-98 was a threat to personnel safety and immediately terminated them with small arms fire. Recovery of the recording data was successfully carried out, although there was some corruption. Analysis of the onboard computer system showed that the SCPs Nautilus had been taken to a maximum depth of 17,934 meters below sea level. Due to the unknown nature of the material coating the submersible, it was determined that the Nautilus would be dismantled and incinerated, along with the remains of D-5007-98. Following review of the recovered footage, it was determined that SCP-5007-B must be sealed. Construction of a reinforced containment seal to be fitted over SCP-5007-B is now underway. Finally, we get an incident report restricted to Level 5. Firstly, we'll be going over the initial events. Construction of the SCP-5007-B containment seal was completed on the 1901 Tupper 2018 and was rapidly transported to SCP-5007-A, where it was fitted over SCP-5007-B via drilled anchor points on the 21/1/2018. Site-49R reported the operation a success and resumed monitoring of SCP-5007-A at 13:28 hours. At 01:48 hours on the 22/01/2018 Site-40R, ceased transmitting all signals to Site-40. Upon transmitting various messages and orders to Site-40R, every device within Site-40 received the following email from the account of Dr. Steenstrup, who was lost in action during an early attempt to explore SCP-5007-B.
Found you.
A small percentage of the staff receiving this email proceeded to undergo anomalous physical changes, similar to those seen in D-5007-98. Surgery was able to save 85% of the affected individuals. A site-wide network scrub was initiated, and it was determined that MTF Gamma-6 deep feeders would be needed to re-establish contact with Site-40R. Due to adverse weather conditions, it was not deemed safe to investigate Site-40R until the 17/02/2018 Natin. The following events took place on the 17/02/2018, resulting in the worst losses MTF Gamma-6 deep feeders have experienced since 1984. The footage itself was obtained from the body camera of CP Tal Wallace, one of 2 survivors of the expedition to Site-40R. Extraneous detail and dialogue has been removed from this log. Aboard the marine transport, footage shows the approach to Site-40R. The site is seen to be heavily damaged and partially submerged, with multiple SCP-5007 instances resting upon it, as they do on SCP-5007-A. Closer inspection of the site from the water shows that both west-facing support pillars have been buckled by a significant impact. 3 large objects can be seen resting on top of the site, and there is evidence of multiple now extinguished fires. The protective netting over the site has been removed. The transport proceeds to moor itself by the water access station. Initial examination of Site-40R's exterior begins. Massive structural damage can be seen, with the 3 large objects appearing to have caused most of this damage. Closer examination of these objects shows these to be the containment seal previously fitted over SCP-5007-B. These sections of the seal appear to have been broken apart via massive physical force. Each segment is coated with a thick organic material, from which multiple large eyes were growing. This material is seen to have spread across much of the exterior surface of Site-40R, and the eyes growing from it can be seen tracking the task force's movements. MTF enters the site via Corridor 12B. An examination of an information terminal is conducted, showing that the site is running on reserve power only, with the reactor having been shut off by automated systems to avoid a meltdown. Continued searching of the site shows more organic matter growing within the corridor. No on-site personnel are located, and the decision to move the search to Level 6 of the site is made. Due to structural damage to the stairwells of the site, use of maintenance tunnels was required to reach Level 6. This led the task force directly to the main command center, where multiple staff members were located. All had numerous large yellow eyes growing across their bodies and internal organs. In some cases, individuals whose entire torso had been converted to one massive eye and adhered itself to a nearby surface were seen, whereas other individuals' faces had been entirely replaced by a single large eye. Further examination of Level 6 was able to locate 82% of the site's staff. All had been altered in the same manner as those found in the main command center. The majority of these individuals remained seated or reclined, though some stood or would move throughout the site. While the eyes growing from these individuals were observed to track the task force, none of the staff responded or interacted with MTF members in any way. Continuing the search, it was discovered that the stairwell and maintenance tunnels leading to Level 713 were inaccessible. Analyzing the lower level with remote scanners showed that there was no seawater present in Level 7 and that the main containment facility was several degrees warmer than the surrounding environment. The decision was made to cut through to the containment facility and rappel down. Footage shows that the main containment facility is largely undamaged save for a large breach in the floor, through which an extremely large black tentacle had entered. The tentacle was coiled around the walls of the chamber before allowing its end to hang freely in the air from the ceiling. Its entire surface was covered in spiraling rows of large eyes before terminating in a large fleshy mass resembling elements of human, cetacean, reptilian, and fish anatomy. The remaining staff members could be seen having arranged themselves into a spiral formation around the end of this tentacle and were proceeding to enter an opening at the tip in single file. These staff members had undergone similar alterations as those found on Level 6 to varying degrees. The MTF successfully enters Level 7 and proceeds to survey the room. Breathing apparatuses are readied in anticipation of potential flooding. At this point, Sergeant Arafai Hoctor attempts to communicate with a less altered staff member, resulting in the task force being attacked en masse by all of the affected individuals. All members of MTF Gamma 6, deep feeders, engage the affected staff with automatic weapons. On multiple occasions, it can be seen that altered staff fail to die until the destruction of anomalous ocular growths is achieved. Tapatiyati petfada tititata. Wow. Wyatley is nun fatally wounded, and all remaining anomalously affected staff were successfully terminated. Pana Wheatley's injuries are treated. Several MTF members are examining the bodies of the deceased when the tentacle begins to violently attack the team. Sergeant Hoctor, Pat Royce, Pat Trujillo, and Pat Crahan are immediately closest to the tentacle and are either thrown into the walls or crushed beneath the tentacle. The rest of the MTF retreat to the security station and fire upon the tentacle. A distress call was made to Site 40, who proceeded to dispatch a rescue helicopter to Site 40R. After several attempts to enter the security station, the tentacle then proceeded to exit the chamber, causing rapid flooding. The MTF was forced to equip their breathing apparatuses and abandon Put Wheatley to retreat via the breach. Upon exiting Site 40R, between 16 and 30 tentacles believed to belong to SCP-5007-C can be seen emerging from the sea floor. CPT Wallace can be seen instructing the remaining MTF members to proceed to the submerged scaffolding and to surface before following personally. Sergeant Fain and Pafta Schneider can be seen being grabbed by SCP-5007-C and rapidly pulled into deep water, with the tentacles not reacting to the resulting weapons fire in any way. The MTF reaches the scaffolding and proceeds to ascend toward the surface. Near the surface, a large tentacle, an estimated 17 meters in diameter, wraps around the entire support column, crushing Anders, Sergeant Davis, and Bredel. Capt Wallace and Taylor successfully reach the surface and proceed to Corridor 12B to await rescue. 3 large tentacles are seen lifting the marine transport from the water before throwing it several hundred meters out to sea, where waves force it to be grounded on SCP-5007-A. No more tentacles are seen after this point. Ape Team Wallace complains of physical discomfort and proceeds to women's restroom 12B and examines herself in the mirror. Clusters of yellow eyes can be seen emerging from her left shoulder, chest and arm, and cheek. Katsinda. Wallace expresses distress and returns to Bet Taylor, who is displaying similar symptoms. CP to Wallace and Pivot Taylor are successfully recovered via rescue helicopter and returned to Site 40. Both Seeper Wallace and Pitt Taylor were able to be saved through extensive surgery, removing the anomalous growths, and received commendations for their efforts. It was advised that Site 40R would be repaired and restaffed. These repairs were completed on the 27/10/2018 without incident, with observation and research of SCP-5007-A, B, and C proceeding smoothly. Site 40R has resumed the management of containing of SCP-5007, and no further sightings of SCP-5007-C have been reported. Following the repair and restaffing of Site 40R, security footage was recovered from on-site servers. This footage required extensive reconstruction and shed new light on the previous incident log. Following the review of this footage, it was decided that no further efforts to seal SCP-5007-B would be made. A transcript of the recovered footage follows. Site 40R exterior camera 6B. Poor weather limits the camera's field of vision. Conditions are stormy. Visible footage shows the exterior of Site 40R. A patrol ship can be seen circling SCP-5007-A. The vessel's searchlight is focused on the seal over SCP-5007-B. A series of extremely loud bangs come from SCP-5007-B, and the containment seal can be seen buckling outwards. Klaxon sound and on-site security can be seen mobilizing. Containment seal camera. 1. All visible SCP-5007 instances are seen to approach Site 40R. Fractures can be seen to form along the containment seal. Site 40R exterior camera 6B. Containment seal ruptures. 5 large tentacles, presumed to belong to SCP-5007-C, emerge from the breach in the containment seal, prying it from SCP-5007-A. The patrol vessel opens fire upon the tentacles. 3 large SCP-5007 instances lift the vessel into the air before depositing it on SCP-5007-A. A tentacle emerges from SCP-5007-B, proceeding to seize the vessel and drag it underwater into SCP-5007-B. Site 40R exterior camera 7F. Multiple SCP-5007 instances can be seen attacking Site 40R, working cooperatively to remove the protective netting from the site. Automated security systems and on-site security personnel engage SCP-5007 instances, incapacitating 3 instances. Site 40R exterior camera 6B. The tentacles emerging from SCP-5007-B tear a section of the containment seal from its housing and proceeds to throw it at Site 40R. Impact is out of frame, results in a loss of primary power to the site. Automated weaponry cease function, and the on-site emergency lighting and alarms activate. Site 40R exterior camera 1G. Multiple Foundation watercraft are seen departing from the site towards SCP-5007-A, but are engaged by SCP-5007-C before arrival. 3 gunships are seen to be lifted from the water by large tentacles and crushed before being pulled beneath the surface. Site 40R exterior camera 7F. SCP-5007 instances succeed in removing the protective netting from Site 40R and proceed to attack and abduct retreating security personnel en masse. Containment seal camera 1. Remaining Foundation gunships are thrown toward SCP-5007-A. Survivors are seen to emerge from the wreckage and engage multiple SCP-5007-A3 and SCP-4159 instances. Site 40R exterior camera 6B. SCP-5007-C manages to remove the remaining sections of the containment seal and proceeds to throw them at Site 40R. One of these can be seen impacting the communications tower, and the site now has multiple fires burning across its exterior. Security personnel can be seen being abducted in large numbers. Site 40IR exterior camera 6B Pvt David Ha can be seen attempting to hide himself from SCP-5007 instances by climbing into the scaffolding of the site, but is knocked into the water by stray fire. Site 40R submerged camera 19H. Pifti-Ha is pulled to the sea floor by SCP-5007-C, which can be seen emerging from the sand. Upon reaching the sea floor, Pifti-Ha attempts to escape, but is pulled beneath the sand. Multiple SCP-5007-C tentacles can be seen emerging from the sea floor and rapidly surfacing. Containment seal camera 1. surviving gunship crews are overwhelmed by multiple instances of SCP-5159 and incapacitated. SCP-5007 instances can be seen returning to SCP-5007-A from Site-40R and throwing captured on-site security forces at SCP-5007-A from an estimated height of 20 to 35 meters. Numerous SCP-5007-A3 instances can be seen preying on these personnel. Site-40R Exterior Camera 6B. Multiple SCP-5007-C tentacles can be seen entering frame and wrapping themselves around the site, causing significant structural damage. These tentacles can be seen entering the site via various access points. At this point, the camera's view begins to tilt as the site's support pillars buckle under the additional weight of the containment seal. Site-40R, Security Station 12B Camera. Multiple on-site security personnel can be seen having fortified their position and are aiming their weapons toward an exterior door. Sergeant Andrew Williamson reports contact and all security personnel open fire in the direction of the exterior door. A large tentacle featuring spiraling rows of eyes and terminating in a large mouth enters the frame and can be seen to be receiving damage from the sustained fire. The tentacle's mouth opens, revealing a large yellow eye. Site-40R Security Station 12B Camera. All security personnel display extreme discomfort and pain, with many dropping their weapons. Multiple large eyes can be seen beginning to grow on their bodies, with Sergeant Williamson's mouth notably being filled by one such eye and expanding to cover his entire face. The tentacle proceeds past the security personnel, destroying the camera. Site-40R Main Command Center Camera 6. Remaining staff can be seen fortifying the command center, with remaining security distributing weaponry among staff. Video terminals on screen show multiple SCP-5007-C tentacles converging upon the command center. Site-40R Director's Office Camera. Site Director Gladys Morrison can be seen attempting to barricade the door to her office, but is knocked back as a large tentacle enters the room. Morrison hides behind her desk as the tentacle can be seen to split open, revealing a severely mutated Dr. Steenstrup has been integrated into the tentacle. Director Morrison fires several shots at Dr. Steenstrup with her sidearm to no effect. Dr. Steenstrup can be seen raising his arms and tentacles, causing significant disruption to the camera's feed. Director Morrison's skin can be seen beginning to pulsate and bulge, and Dr. Steenstrup emits a loud wail. At this point, all camera feeds on site fail. Following the recovery of the above footage, it was determined that Site-40R would be fitted with Class S autocannons, and that no further efforts to seal SCP-5007-B will be made. Future research into the nature of SCP-5007-C is to be made a priority, and must be carried out with the most non-invasive methods available. This will conclude our briefing on SCP-5007. If you enjoyed, consider liking and sharing with your fellow researchers to help spread the word about this anomaly. Don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications on so that you don't miss our future briefings.